Let's take you to Bern in Switzerland. The anthems of Spain and Portugal have just finished playing, the two teams taking on each other in the group stages of the Women's Euros. And they will hold a minute's silence in memory of Diogo Jota and his brother, Andre Silva. This is the scene at Anfield. Let's bring in our sports correspondent, Rob Harris, who is in Porto for us tonight. We are following events in Switzerland ahead of that minute's silence. Rob, it has been a tragic incident. It was described as the summer of a lifetime for this player. He won the Premier League, the UEFA Nations League. He had his wedding just a matter of days ago. And then this car accident that claimed his life and the life of his brother.
And the grief is being felt so strongly here on the outskirts of Porto in Gondomar. This is the club I'm at where it all began for Diogo Jota as a youngster, where as a teenager, out of the spotlight, it cost him to play. This is a tiny club, but so many members of the community here, so many fans are coming to lay flowers, and it's the Jota Academy. It was named after him, Diogo Jota, a few years ago, in honour of perhaps their most illustrious graduate. And tonight, Portugal's women's team taking to the field at the Women's European Championship, just a few weeks after the men's team won the Nations League with Jota in the side, beating Spain in that final. Tonight, this opening match of the Women's Euros is Portugal taking on Spain, the country where so tragically Jota's life ended today when he was driving with his brother Andre through the country. Both teams are wearing black armbands in Bern in Switzerland. I've actually just flown in from Switzerland, where I was covering the Euros as well, until obviously this news happened, and we've now arrived in Portugal. And imagine what's going through those Portuguese players' minds as they try to play a match with so much grief and devastation impacting the Portuguese football community. And there will be this minute's silence that will take place, and you can just imagine how emotional it will be, and just really reinforcing what a devastatingly tragic day this is.
The national anthem has been played in Bern in Switzerland, perhaps meaning that little bit more this evening to those singing and listening to it. The Portugal fans really giving it everything tonight. Both sets of players on the pitch are listening to those national anthems. As you said, Spain, the country where Diogo Jota and his brother lost his life. Portugal, his home nation. Let's listen to the minute's silence.
Memória do internacional português e avançado da Liverpool FC, Diogo Jota, e do seu irmão André Silva, que faleceram tragicamente hoje.
A minute's silence there observed in Bern, Switzerland, as Portugal prepare to take on Spain in the Women's Euros. A minute's silence going to be observed before all the matches tonight and tomorrow at the Euros. And so many tributes, Rob, to this player. This is a tragedy. A man just 28, really in the prime of his life. We were just talking there about this summer of a lifetime he was enjoying, winning the Premier League with Liverpool, winning the UEFA Nations League, and just a few days marrying the mother of his 3 children. You can take us through some of the tributes, because we've heard from Cristiano Ronaldo, who said his death just doesn't make sense, saying, we literally played with you, with Portugal, not so long ago. You literally just got married. And particularly the Liverpool manager, Arne Slot, his lengthy, heartfelt tribute, pitch perfect, some would say.
You just get a real sense of what Diogo Jota meant to so many people, the selflessness that's on the pitch and off the pitch as well. On the pitch, often having to play in the shadows of Mohamed Salah at Liverpool, of Cristiano Ronaldo at Portugal, but no less integral as part of the entire team and the squad to delivering so much glory. And he'd won it all in England, the FA Cup, the League Cup, and then the Premier League in May. as Liverpool's number 20. It was his goals that helped them win title number 20, becoming the record 20 times champions of England, being part of that parade just a few weeks ago in May, scoring his 65th and last Liverpool goal as the winner in the Merseyside derby in April against Everton, the fixture that means so much to Liverpool fans. And with Portugal winning the Nations League for a second time just a few weeks ago, giving them such celebrations here. And this is where it all began, on the outskirts of Porto. See behind me the tributes here at the Gondomar Sports Club. It's the academy named after Jota. It was here where his family had to pay for him to play. It's a tiny club in the 4th tier. At 16, he wasn't yet spotted by any of the big clubs. He had to really find his way, to fight his way, to prove himself within the game. And then he climbed all the way up through the ranks, dropping from playing in the Champions League with Porto to the 2nd division in England with Wolves, helping them get into the Premier League in 2018, and not just settling with being in the Premier League, top 7 finishes, guiding them into Europe, scoring 2 hat-tricks in a Europa League campaign as they reached the quarter-finals in 2020, attracting the attentions of Jurgen Klopp, who then brought him to Anfield in 2020. And what an impression he's made at Liverpool, and what an impression he's made across the world of football as well. And I've been sent this video tribute from the FIFA president, Gianni Infantino, who's currently out at the Club World Cup in the United States.
I had the opportunity to meet Diogo at the World Cup in Qatar a couple of years ago. Fantastic person, a great son, husband, father as well. Tragic loss from FIFA side, my side, the whole global football family. We give a big hug to the family of Diogo and Andre.
Rob, thank you. Stay with us. We'll talk through those tributes that have been coming in all day and continue to come in their droves. Now, the death of Diogo Jota has, of course, come as a terrible shock to his Liverpool teammates and the club's supporters. Manager Arne Slot has called it tonight an unimaginable loss, while his predecessor, Jurgen Klopp, says he is heartbroken. Fans have been visiting Anfield all day to pay their own tributes. Our chief North of England correspondent, Greg Milam, has this report from Liverpool.
This is the last that Liverpool fans saw of Diogo Jota on the Anfield pitch, lifting the Premier League trophy, a celebration forever now, the most poignant of memories. Just a month later, his life ended here on a Spanish road. Police are investigating how the Lamborghini he was in with his brother came to crash and burst into flames in the early hours. It is only 10 days since Jota married his longtime partner. The couple had 3 young children. Yes to forever, his new wife had posted. And at the place where they once worshipped him, now they came to mourn. Where a few weeks ago, thousands had come to parade in celebration of that Premier League success, now growing tributes. The club's short statement said it was devastated at what it described as an unimaginable loss, a loss felt intensely by those fans.
The way he played football with a smile on his face all the time, he was the epitome of enjoying what you do. Every time he went out on the pitch, he gave us all for us. And
things are more important than football, and this certainly is more important than football.
It's heartbreaking, and I just can't describe it. It's hurting inside. I know he's not family, but he is family.
The Deputy Prime Minister was among those who came to lay flowers.
It is absolutely heartbreaking and just shows how life events can change really quickly. And, you know, I'm absolutely devastated for his wife and his children and his family. I can't imagine what they're going through at the moment.
And from football and beyond, there have been so many tributes. Prince William, the patron of the Football Association, wrote, "As part of the footballing family, I'm deeply saddened to hear of the passing of Diogo Jota and his brother. Our thoughts are with his family, friends, and all who knew him." Jurgen Klopp, the manager who brought Jota to Liverpool, wrote that he was heartbroken. Diogo was not only a fantastic player, but also a great friend, a loving and caring husband and father. "We will miss you so much," he said. And in a statement, the current Liverpool manager, Arne Slot, said, all I have are feelings that I know so many people will share about a person and a player we love dearly and a family we care so much about. When the time is right, we will celebrate Diogo Jota. We'll remember his goals and we'll sing his song. For the time being, we'll remember him as a unique human being and mourn his loss. He will never be forgotten. Liverpool's players will return for pre-season training in the coming days. There are those who would like to see Jota's number 20 shirt retired as a lasting tribute to his contribution to the club. This is a football club and a city that knows how tragedies go way beyond football. However Diogo Jota is honoured, he is gone with the gratitude of millions, as a man who, in their eyes, will always be a champion. Greg Milam, Sky News, Liverpool.
Let's join our national correspondent Tom Parmenter, who is in Liverpool for us tonight. Our sports correspondent Rob Harris is in Porto. Tom, to you first. Greg Milam there reflecting on the wider football family coming together to remember this player. Everton fans joining Reds there today. What is the mood like there this evening?
I think this has been a day that has cut through the tribalism of football. It is still a picture of numbness, of disbelief of the hundreds, if not thousands of people who have come down to lay scarves and shirts and other tributes to Diogo Jota, a player who was so popular at this football club over the last 5 years. He'd scored so many vital goals on the pitch, but had made such a big contribution off it as well. And what is really striking within all this is the family tragedy. That is what resonates the most to people who are coming here to lay those tributes tonight. And there are so many children in small Liverpool kits who have been coming to lay down their shirts with often the number 20 on the back, often with just holding their parents' hands, perhaps having been told the news at the school gates at the end of the school day, and then coming down to Anfield to remember one of the absolute favourites of this all-beating squad that Jurgen Klopp and then Arne Slot had sent out onto the pitch so many times. We've seen tributes from so many teammates today, and also from Sir Kenny Dalglish, such a figurehead of this football club. And in that statement from Sir Kenny Dalglish, he said, "Football is not important at this sad time. You feel helpless, knowing there's so little we can do to ease the pain for his wife of just 2 weeks, his 3 beautiful children, thinking and praying of all their loved ones after the devastating loss of both Diogo and Andre. You'll never walk alone." And we've heard that song sung outside the main stand here at Anfield this evening, along with the Diogo Jota song that has been such a favourite of the fans here. And the celebration of his life no doubt will come in the coming weeks and months, but today very much just trying to absorb that news that broke this morning, and a sea of tributes now behind us on one of the sides of the stadium here. It goes on as far as you can see behind me, and people just wanting to come and pause and reflect on a human tragedy, a family tragedy at the heart of a footballing story that has touched so many people around the world.
Yeah, indeed, Tom. It doesn't matter what football colours you wear. This is a story that is bigger than football. Such a shock. Somebody in the prime of their life, top of their career, just 28, losing their life in such tragic circumstances. Let's bring in our sports correspondent, Rob Harris, who has travelled to Porto to cover this story, because Diogo Jota, I was listening to an interview with him earlier on today, and it was talking about the fact that his parents were paying for him to play football when he was 16. He was playing in the lower leagues in his late teens and early 20s, and he was asked what message he would give to 16-year-old aspiring footballers, and it was to never give up, always follow your dreams. And that really resonates in Porto, where you are tonight.
And this is where those dreams began. We can see people behind me, if I step out of the shot, now putting candles down here at the Gondomar Sports Club. And above that is the message, it's not about where we come from, but where we're going to. And that's what Jota himself said in 2020. Inspirational words, always remembering this place on the outskirts of Porto, where the journey began, a club playing in the 4th division, where Jota's family had to pay for him to play, to make his mark in the game. But he never forgot where he came from, as he enjoyed those heights in recent weeks. And his brother Andre also played here. The fact Andre dying alongside him in that car crash in the early hours of this morning. And that just deepens the sense of tragedy, the fact 2 brothers dying just weeks after Diogo married his childhood sweetheart, with their 3 children there as part of the ceremony. Andy Robertson, the Liverpool captain, was also there, talking tonight about how that was the last time he saw him. So happy. And they shared such happy moments together, winning the Premier League, being part of the wedding in recent weeks. A player at 28 who was in his prime, part of a Liverpool team that was really going places in the first season under Arne Slot, helping them win this huge prize, a Premier League title with the fans at the stadium. That didn't happen in 2020 during the pandemic, just before Jota got there. So his place in Liverpool's history was already clear just a few weeks ago. And the message really from Arne Slot tonight is not to forget Diogo, that his name is Diogo, to know that he's part of that Liverpool history. And it's something that is very hard to comprehend for Liverpool, and particularly here in Portugal, where football really is the lifeblood of daily life. There are daily sports newspapers here. It's all football. Jota himself played for Porto briefly for a season. His brother Andre was also there at a time as well, the club paying tribute to their champions. And he scored goals for Porto in the Champions League, Jota, in years gone by as well. So, many wanting to be here tonight. As so often, it's the stadium where people come to in moments of celebration and in moments of mourning, and it's that sense of community, particularly here in a commuter town on the outskirts of Porto, where they really want to come tonight to try and comprehend this tragedy.
Rob, thank you. Rob Harris covering this story for us from Porto tonight. Well, I'm joined now by journalist and lifelong Liverpool fan, Adam Kaler, and the Vice President of FC Porto London, Ricardo Battaglia. Gentlemen, thank you both for joining me on the programme this evening to talk about what is a completely tragic story. A player at the top of his career, just 28. As I've said on the programme already tonight, enjoying the summer of a lifetime, effectively. Adam, what are your thoughts this evening in tribute to Jota?
I think as the day has gone on, one thing that struck me is the outpouring of emotion from not just Liverpool fans, but fans everywhere. And I think that just shows what a special person Diogo was, not just a player. He kind of transcended being just your typical footballer. He didn't just turn up, play, leave kind of thing. He played with a smile on his face, never made front page news, didn't court controversy, never complained when he was on the bench as much as Liverpool fans wanted him to start more often. He let his feet do the talking, and he's someone that every club would have loved to have play for them, to be honest. I think the human side of this is the thing that has shone through more than anything in the past couple of hours. He leaves behind a brand new wife and 3 kids. And I think that's what people need to remember more than anything that he did on the pitch, really.
Yeah. I think the Deputy Prime Minister summed it up when she was at Anfield. She said, life events can change in an instant. And he got married just 10 days ago. We're looking at a funeral perhaps as early as tomorrow, and, seeing the picture of his new wife and those 3 small, gorgeous children, this goes wider than the football community. This touches everyone, this kind of human tragedy. Ricardo, talk to me about how Diogo Jota is regarded by FC Porto. This is where his dreams began.
I think more than an FC Porto player, Diogo was a national hero. He played for the national team. He was a tremendous player. He always gave his best to the national team, and we're very sad that we have to face the news that unfortunately he's passed away. It almost seems like it's unreal. It hasn't actually hit home that he's actually is not with us. And as a father of 3 kids, I can only imagine the devastation of the family. I regularly travel to Portugal as well by car, and the story touched me quite a lot, because it's very it's a massive tragedy, and I can only feel for the family.
Adam, so many tributes have been coming in from the great and the good of the football world, from Arne Slot, Cristiano Ronaldo, you know, Portugal's national team saying he was an extraordinary person. But what I've been looking at today on social media is the fans talking about him. And from what I can gather, whatever team he played for, he was very grounded and would always sign autographs, always talk to journalists, never refused an interview. He was a very approachable player. He came from humble beginnings. As I said, you know, success came to him slightly later than some top-flight footballers, and he had this real appreciation for not just the game, but the community that he was part of.
Yeah, I think it sums it up that I used to cover a lot of Liverpool games a couple of years ago. And during Champions League games, journalists will go in what's called the mix zone, where we throw questions at players that they don't want to answer. Most of the players just put headphones on and walk off, but Diogo was always one of those that would smile and say hi and then walk off. So, like, it just shows you how actually he was pretty nice and a normal person, very grounded. And or as I say, he always played with a smile on his face. And that really endeared him to Liverpool fans. I think as well, what's happened over the past few hours is that it won't bring much comfort to the family, but that family is now part of Liverpool's family. It happens with every player that plays for Liverpool. You make one appearance, you're never seen again. You are part of the Liverpool family for life. And that family has now got a support system made up of every single person in Liverpool. And I just think it's really typified what he is as a person, that the support and outpouring of emotion today has just been absolutely huge.
Ricardo, how has this been received in Portugal? We've seen tonight the scenes at Anfield, the tributes being left there by Liverpool fans, by Everton fans, and just people from the area travelling to Anfield to pay their respects, whether they're a football fan or not. What's been the reaction in Portugal to this tragedy?
It's had a massive coverage. It's definitely hit us by surprise. We were woken up this morning with the tragic news of a Portuguese elite athlete has passed away, and I have seen reporters on TV today being emotional and crying on live TV. I mean, it has been it is very difficult for us to accept such a tragedy. As I said, it is one of our heroes, and it will always be remembered as one of our heroes.
And of course, Portugal in action tonight in the Women's Euros. We saw here on our screens the minute silence observed by those in the stadium in Bern, Switzerland, by the Portugal national team and the Spanish national team as well. How much does that mean to Portugal, to the national teams? Because that anthem being sung before that minute silence, the Portugal fans in that stadium gave it everything, such a poignant moment.
I think his legacy will forever carry on within the national team and within Portuguese football itself. And I am sure it will always be remembered, and it will be a forever legacy for Portuguese football.
And Adam, so many renditions of You'll Never Walk Alone. And Diogo Jota, of course, as all top players do, have their own song. And the Liverpool fans have been singing that and sharing videos of that in tribute to him today.
Yeah, and there is a call for his number to be retired as well, and I would go along with that. I think a lot of the things that have been said would have been said whether today it's happened or not. You know, everyone loved him. He was a brilliant player. He was a brilliant man. And I do think the calls to retire his number is something that the club should seriously consider.
Yeah. There were some reports that he was travelling to reach the UK for the start of pre-season training. Of course, that comes round so quickly, doesn't it? It only feels like the football season ends and the players get a few weeks and then they are back again. I mean, Adam, take us inside that Liverpool dressing room, those players coming back in a few days' time. That will be so tough.
They will be devastated, but I think I was listening to, I think it was Danny Murphy, ex-Liverpool player, who said today that once those players get onto the pitch, they will use this as a way to spur them on. And also the training and the playing, etc. It's just a one-track mind. Once you're on the pitch, you're on the pitch. But they will use this to spur them on for the rest of, for the new season, to push again for the league title, for every trophy. They will do it in his name. So yes, they'll be devastated, but they will use this to fuel them, I think.
I'm just looking at more tributes coming in. Andy Robertson, Liverpool player. He says on Instagram, I want to talk about my mate, my buddy, the bloke I loved and will miss like crazy. I could talk about him as a player for hours, but none of that feels like it matters right now. It's the man, the person. He was such a good guy, the best, so genuine, so normal and real, full of love for the people he cared about, full of fun. He goes on to say he was the most British foreign player I've ever met. We used to joke he was really Irish. I tried to claim him as Scottish, obviously. I even called him Diogo Jota. We'd watch the darts together, enjoy the horse racing. Going to Cheltenham this season was a highlight, one of the best we have had. The last time I saw him was the happiest day of his life, his wedding day. I want to remember his never-ceasing smile from that magical day, how much he was bursting with love for his wife and family. I can't believe we are saying goodbye. The thoughts of Andy Robertson there tonight. Adam Kayler and Ricardo Battaglia, thank you so much for your time and your own thoughts on this tragedy that's affecting Liverpool, Portugal national team, the wider football community, and so many watching tonight. The sad passing of Diogo Jota alongside his brother Andre. Still to come here on the UK Tonight. We'll hear from the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, as she appears in public for the first time since crying in PMQs yesterday. Also coming up, the Prime Minister and his top team unveil the government's 10-year plan for the National Health Service. We'll take a closer look. And why farmers are harvesting earlier than ever this year. We'll join one of them.
We're rolling.
Welcome to the world.
Our new podcast, starting now. It's very exciting. Every week, we'll be reporting from the world's trouble spots.
We get to hold those in positions of power accountable, and we get to ask the questions that the audience, the listeners, want to know about.
And that's why it is so important that people tune in, come along for the road, come along for the journey. It'll be fun.
Rachel Reeves insists she is totally up for the job after appearing in public for the first time since crying on the front bench of Prime Minister's questions yesterday. The Chancellor was visibly upset in the Commons as she sat behind Sir Keir Starmer. Ms Reeves insists she was dealing with a private matter which had nothing to do with the fallout from this week's U-turn on welfare reforms or a lack of support.
Clearly I was upset yesterday, and everyone could see that. It was a personal issue, and I'm not going to go into the details of that. But my job as Chancellor at 12 o'clock on a Wednesday is to be at PMQs next to the Prime Minister, supporting the government, and that's what I try to do. I guess the thing that maybe is a bit different between my job and many of your viewers is that when I'm having a tough day, it's on the telly, and most people don't have to deal with that.
Well, the Prime Minister has admitted he was last to appreciate that the Chancellor was crying next to him in PMQs. Sir Keir Starmer has been speaking to our political editor, Beth Rigby.
Chancellor, first, it's really good to see you today. It's really good to see you here. But, Prime Minister, I have to ask you, on a human level, people were shocked and baffled that in the Commons yesterday you did not offer your Chancellor your support. Was it because you didn't see what was happening, or did you not know what to do? Thank you.
Well, Beth, let me just clear that up straight away. I didn't appreciate what was happening because, as you will probably appreciate, the PMQs is pretty wired. It goes from question to question, and I'm literally up, down, question, looking at who's asked me a question, thinking about my response, and getting up and answering it. And so it wasn't just yesterday. No Prime Minister ever has had side conversations during PMQs. It does happen in other debates when there's a bit more time, but in PMQs, it is bang, bang, bang. That's what it was yesterday, and therefore I was probably the last to appreciate anything else going on in the chamber. That's just a straightforward human explanation. Common sense explanation, if you like.
Right, let's return to Porto. Our sports correspondent Rob Harris is there reacting to the death of Diogo Jota, the Liverpool player, in a car crash in Spain alongside his brother Rob.
Many people coming here to pay tribute to Diogo Jota at his former club Gondomar, where it all began. And I'm joined now by someone who played alongside Diogo. Miguel, what was your thoughts when you heard the awful news today?
The first thought is, wow, this can be real. The way it is in a car accident, so young, just got married, just got the Premier League, the Nations League, and it was shocking.
You played for many years alongside him. From what age, and what was it like here growing up with him?
Yeah, I played with him like 10 years here in Gondomar, and he was a very good friend back then. And he was never the player that showed up in the group, but in the player that we see on the television, it's the player that I see back then in a training. Lots of work, hard, and it was very good.
And how proud were you to see him move on from here and reach the tops of the game? I mean, at Wolves, you've got a shirt there.
Yeah. I was very proud of every goal he achieves, like play in the Premier League, win the Premier League, play the Champions League, win the Champions League, play for Portugal, and then win titles with Portugal. I was very proud in each one of his goals.
And you've got a Liverpool shirt with his name on the back as well. I mean, could you have imagined the person you grew up playing with would reach such highs, win so many trophies, and make you so proud?
Back then, every children dreams of getting professional, yeah. But at the same time, we know it's very difficult. But he gets it. and it's me and my colleagues who we played together back then. We are all very proud.
And how will this community be feeling in the coming hours and days?
This community, like this in Gondomar, and as well as Portugal, every time we see Diogo Jota on the pitch, we feel very proud. Nothing but proud.
Deepest condolences. Thank you for joining us here on Sky News.
Thank you.
One of Diogo Jota's former teammates here, where it all began on this day of utter tragedy.
Rob, thank you. Rob Harris following this story for us in Porto tonight. Now, the Prime Minister unveiled today his decade-long plan to transform the National Health Service. Sir Keir Starmer outlined a series of shifts to bring care much closer to people's homes, reducing the reliance on hospitals and A&E. We can take a look at the plan in a bit more detail here. Well, we were told there will be a shift from hospital to community care with the creation of local neighbourhood health centres open 6 days a week. A digital transformation is on the cards with an upgraded NHS app offering control over appointments, AI-driven advice and self-referrals. There's a move towards preventative care with early screenings, vaccinations and weight loss interventions. £29 billion will be invested to boost technology rollouts, new workforce models and restore NHS infrastructure. And new AI tools are planned to reduce the burden of admin on clinicians. Our health correspondent Ashish Joshi has this next report.
May I take your date of birth, please?
What I'll do, sir, is I'll pop it on someone's list to do today.
The dreaded 8 a.m. scramble for a GP appointment.
So you last had an appointment on the 19th of June, which I don't think you attended.
Another symptom of an NHS struggling to deliver quality patient care.
So it's quite busy today.
But under the government's 10-year plan, the NHS will be a 24/7 service there for its patients when they need it most. It's promised to deliver thousands of GPs to drive forward its transformation of the health service. But Dr. Kumar has his doubts.
With things like national insurance and minimum wage increases, we've seen that our bills have got a lot higher and the funding hasn't supported that. So it means that we would struggle to recruit any more GPs from our current funding.
The 10-year plan will see a shift away from hospitals to community care, increase focus on prevention and employ the latest technology.
I think the GP surgeries need to change because they seem to be the ones that hold everything up.
On paper, it sounds like a really good idea, but where are we going to get the staff?
I feel like the current Labour government does have good intentions. I think they really are keen to get it fixed. Obviously, implementing it is another story.
The government's 10-year plans have been broadly welcomed, but questions about delivery and workforce remain.
Under Labour, GP practice has actually not got better, it's got worse. On average, 5.8 million people a month waited more than 14 days for a GP since Labour took office, compared to 5.4 million over the same period last year when the Conservatives were in power. So GP practice is becoming more inaccessible under Labour. 62 GP practices have closed since Labour came to power. So this idea that you're recruiting more GPs, training more GPs, more patients are having access to GPs isn't quite true. The numbers don't quite add up.
Well, it's a tide that we need to turn. And when I came in, I found this absurd situation where there were qualified GPs who couldn't find jobs at the same time as patients couldn't get access to a GP. And the decision I took within weeks of taking office was intended to get 1,000 more qualified GPs onto the front line within the year. We've actually got 1,900 onto the front line. But I take your challenge. I take the challenge on the chin about trying to stop practices from closing, to try and stop GPs leaving the profession, and to make sure that people have an improving experience in general practice. That's why neighbourhood health is such a big part of the plan.
10 years will feel like a long way off for patients struggling to access care. They'll hope that this promised revolution transforms their care much, much sooner. Ashish Joshi, Sky News.
Well, let's discuss this in some more detail. I'm joined by the Chief Executive of NHS Providers, Daniel El-Khalise, and the Chief Executive of the Health Foundation, Dr. Jennifer Dixon. Good evening to you both. We've had the best part of a day to go through the 160 pages. I mean, you'd expect a document of that size for a 10-year plan, wouldn't you? Daniel, your initial first impressions, broadly, the overall idea of what's in that document has been well received.
Yes, I actually think it's a game changer. We have been waiting for a plan about what are we going to do to get the NHS out of the hole that it's in. And this is it. It's bold, it's ambitious, and it's got three really big ingredients that I think are going to make a difference. So it is clear what is the care we need to provide for the patients who depend on the NHS most. So older people, adults with long-term conditions, children, people with mental health conditions. It is clear that to do that, we need to simplify the NHS and put the right incentives in. And really importantly, there's a big focus on patients and then it being more responsive to patients and patients having much more control of how healthcare is delivered for them.
OK, so a positive response initially from Daniel. Jennifer, you as positive about what you've heard and read?
So what's in it is really sensible, largely. It repeats quite a lot of previous long-term plans for the NHS, so there's nothing in there that's... Well, there are a few things that are new, but broadly it's stuff that we know about. But the question, as with all of this, is can it be delivered? There's just so much in there, 161 pages.
They've got 10 years to do it, though.
10 years, yes. So I think that there's some realism that needs to be injected into this. So while it's a vision, it's not a plan. And the money is tight, despite the fact that the NHS did quite well in the spending review. It's also predicated on the NHS becoming a lot more productive, and there's a question about whether it can. I mean, like the private sector, productivity has been limp in the NHS and hasn't really picked up since the pandemic. And the NHS at the same time is going through a lot of quite significant restructuring at the moment, reorganisation, with the shock announcement of the abolition of NHS back in March. So there's a lot of ifs and buts. The vision is lovely, but can it be delivered? Is it realistic?
Yeah, what do you think, Daniel? Is it realistic? The grand plan, you know, as I said, widely received, you're very positive about it, but we could say lots of wonderful things, couldn't we? It's how you deliver them. Are you sort of realistic on that front? Are they overpromised?
So I think I'm more positive. So I've only been doing this job for a few weeks, and before doing this job, I ran an ambulance trust, and before that, a hospital trust. And when I was running the hospital, we essentially put in place the neighbourhood healthcare model in our geography, and there are other parts of the country that did it too, so the Black Country, Coventry, Northumbria, and we all did it in spite of the NHS. Everything was aligned to make it not happen, and this plan says, no, we're going to remove all those barriers and make it possible to do it. So I think that is encouraging.
It's worth reminding people how a neighbourhood plan would work in practice. What would it look like?
So it looks like GPs, community staff, mental health staff, hospital staff, social care, working together as one team for patients who need joined-up care. And when you get it right, what you can see is much happier patients who use hospitals much less, staff who are much more satisfied, and it also impacts on social care. So in the place in Surrey where I was responsible for, we saw a reduction in referrals to social services by a quarter because people were living in their homes longer. And then on the let's do a big restructuring, the system we are currently working in so doesn't work that I really don't think you could do a big vision and a big plan without restructuring it. And I think that's the view of quite a lot of my chief exec colleagues in the NHS too.
Was the restructuring bit in this plan? I know it's ongoing at the moment, the NHS, but in terms of have they factored that into this plan in terms of streamlining the NHS, getting rid of bodies, like you said? Is that in there?
It is written in, but the implications of halving a body of, NHS England and the Department of Health, which is, NHS Central, if you like, from 13,000 people down to half that size and still carrying out some of the similar functions, that has all got to be worked through. There's got to be a bill to make sure that happens. There's redundancy costs. There's costs of setting up new organisations.
All those hidden costs.
So I think it's the realism that I'm trying to point out.
Yeah.
The vision, yes, but the realism, I think, is absolutely the bottom line. And I think the other thing to say is that, which is a bit of a danger politically, is that I think if you say that it's reform or die, and you have a very aspirational plan, which actually cannot be delivered because realistically you can only deliver some of it, then there is a danger at the end of a period that you might then say, well, the NHS cannot reform to this level, but actually it was quite unrealistic. So I do think the next stage is to set out a clear plan with some realistic priorities as opposed to 1,000 priorities.
Yeah. So we've touched on reform, we've touched on money. Can we touch on workforce? Because that has been a big question about this plan. Who's going to deliver it all? Because we know that the NHS is struggling to recruit and retain. What's your view on that, Daniel?
So in the previous job when I ran London Ambulance Service, the ambulance service had relied on recruiting from abroad for years and years. And we decided that what we actually needed to do in London was recruit Londoners, and we embarked on a massive apprenticeship programme and actually became the 5th largest apprentice provider in the country. And the result of that is we've not needed to do any recruitment overseas this year for the first time in ages. So I do think if you get the career structure right, people want to work in health. They are great careers. And then you've got to make sure that the job is a doable job where the environment that people are working in is good. And in the plan, there are lots and lots of ideas about how to make the working environment better for people.
Daniel, I can understand why you're so positive, because you sound like in the organisations that you've worked for, you've got it alone. You've gone against the overarching NHS structure to make it work for your areas. And that comes back to what we always talk about when it comes to the NHS, this postcode lottery. There isn't one cohesive plan. Like everything that you're implementing, people at home will be going, well, that's so obvious. And if you can do it, why can't the broader NHS do it?
Yes, well, that's why I like the plan, because I think it's very permissive.
It's caught up with you.
Yes, and it is saying, this is what good looks like, and here's the vision. And I really think when you articulate it like that, lots of parts of the country will say, we want to do it
Does it cost?
too.
Because coming back to what Jennifer said, how much does that cost?
Well, as Jennifer said, so the settlement the NHS got is relatively generous relative to every other part of government in the CSR. It is less than it had in the past as growth. But we can all see there's huge productivity opportunity in the NHS, and that's why the AI and the app and all of the other stuff in the plan is so important.
The app, that caught a lot of people's attention today, because I don't know about you, but I've got about 7 swipes full of apps on my phone. That's how you do it. What do you think about an NHS app? You know, people are so used to them now. Does this make sense? Again, it sounds quite expensive, but could this transform the NHS?
I think that part of the plan does look really realistic. It also looks sensible, and it's aspirational. It's the way to go for sure. And they point out some other countries that are using an app or something similar to do all sorts of things. And if you think of what we can now do on our phone, it's absolutely right that the health service should be ahead of the game on this. So I think that is good. I think with the AI and the other technology, as you say, the NHS, it's very spotty where it is in the NHS. It's not easy to spread. So there's a lot of work to be done about busting barriers and helping in the implementation. But really, the big hope in this plan, I think, there's 2 big hopes in this plan, I think. One is that technology will help to offset labour and costs that we will need in the future. I think that's the main thing. And I think the other thing, which is a bit more technical, which is how the financial system works to incentivise better and more productive activity in the NHS. Not really for patients but much more on the system to pay more for performance. So it's good to see that there's going to be more trials in this area.
OK, Dr Jennifer Dixon, Chief Executive of the Health Foundation, thank you so much. And Daniel L-Kelly's Chief Executive of NHS Providers. Really good to talk to you. And I think the sort of word I'm taking out of that is hope. There's hope in this plan got 10 years to work through it.
And some realism needed.
Yeah, and some realism, yeah. A healthy dose of realism. Don't worry, that'll be drip-fed in over the 10 years as we monitor the progress. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
A little bit of breaking news for you now. An MP, Zara Sultana, says that she is resigning from the Labour Party. This is to found a new party with Jeremy Corbyn, we understand. She sat in the Commons as an independent since she had the Labour whip withdrawn last year and voted to abolish the two-child benefit cap. More on that as we get it, but it seems that a new party is forming under Jeremy Corbyn, the first Labour MP going to join him in that new party. As I said, more details to follow. That's all we have at the moment. Still to come on the UK tonight, why the hot weather is leading to farming fears right across the country. We'll talk to a farmer all about it.
Over there, to your left. There have been airstrikes every day. Hezbollah are very sensitive about us showing any pictures, and we're being hurried away right now.
It felt akin to riding into some sort of Armageddon.
Many other areas have been hit badly. There are shells coming in every few minutes. Hear that whistle and that crunch? We know that they're coming from the south of the city, where there's a column of Russian armoury.
I'm Alex Crawford and I'm Sky's special correspondent based in Istanbul.
It's trying to hit us. That's it. It got us then.
There's a lot of action going on, a lot of hits still. We were the first journalists and the only outsiders to reach the site of the attack several weeks after it happened.
We found from the missile.
It's very difficult to see what around here could be conceived of as a legitimate military target. Only about half a mile from the Turkish coast, a boat seriously overcrowded. This is one of the most severe viruses in the world.
Clearly not had very much to eat at all. A lot of them extremely thin and very frail. Look at that sheet of flames, and that has happened within minutes, and now it's coming from both sides, and it's moving this way.
The world's largest falls now down to a trickle in places.
I can't imagine how much plastic is lying at the bottom of this huge lake. Whoa!
Getting up close and personal with a rhino.
This is what makes the job so fantastic.
We arrive. A secret hospital hidden in the Myanmar jungle, treating the victims of this bloody war. This is Myanmar today. Its military rulers don't want the world to see, but we have.
I fight for my own future. I fight for my generation's future.
This is an actual crime.
They don't care for that.
Myanmar army is only a couple of kilometers away.
So this is a major humanitarian disaster.
Hello, welcome back. Coming up on the UK Tonight, why farmers are harvesting earlier than ever this year. We'll have the details for you. But first, David has today's sport.
Staying connected is vital for business. Sky Business sponsors this report.
I hope that more and more women start coaching. I think it's getting better already, but I think the balance needs to be better.
It's a problem not only on the international stage, but at every level in the women's game. We need more women coaching in the sport.
We have to keep coming up with creative ways to make sure we've got the right number of female candidates coming through. I'm slightly worried about that for the future.
I think it also helps that women see women on the stage, on the pitch and next to the pitch and have examples, because what you see you can be.
Historically, coaching roles in women's football have been dominated by men. Over the past 10 years, the game has seen a steady increase of women in coaching positions. But are opportunities for women on the touchline grown at the same rate the rest of the game on the pitch is? And why are there not more women in the dugout? In 2009 and 2013, only a quarter of head coaches for nations at the Women's Euros were women. Steadily, this number has increased, but so have the teams in the competition. At the Euros in 2022, 6 out of the 16 managers were women, and ahead of this summer's Euros, that number has only increased by 1.
It's improving, but we're moving into the right direction, but we have to put extra effort in that, and that's what many federations do. I know the FA does that. UEFA's working on it, FIFA's working on it. Women, I hope they take opportunities too, but we also give them opportunities and give them an opportunity to educate and become coaches. And I think it really helps when we also, women support women.
Just going to do the same.
There's all this preconceived notions that we're having to deal with, and it lives, unfortunately, in the women's game and the men's game because it's what you know. And unfortunately, I was a player who had a similar experience. I had a female coach, and I had this idea of who the best coaches were because that's what we've been told and we're used to. So there's still a lot of work to do. I think that
Sky Business sponsors this report.
Now, farmers across the country say a record early harvest has already begun after the weeks we've had of prolonged dry and hot weather. New data shows crops are in a worse condition than they were this time last year, with many fields showing early signs of ageing. Some farmers are being forced to start harvest earlier than ever before, with pressure over reduced yields. Well, those pictures were from Papley Grove Farm in Cambridgeshire, where Martin Lyons joins me from now. Martin, the Chief Executive of Nature Friendly Farming. Martin, you're in the middle of a harvest. How early have you had to go and why?
Well, it's one of the earliest harvests we've had for as long as I can remember. And why? Because we've had extreme drought during the spring and extreme heat, and our crops are 3 to 4 weeks earlier than normal seasons. And that means the growing period is a lot shorter, so the quality and the yield is going to be less.
Yeah, I was going to say 3 to 4 weeks might not sound like a lot, but actually to the farming community, that's a really important period of time, right?
Very much so, and it's the final few weeks where we build the biggest yield and get the quality, and we've lost that. Things move forward, but also the system that backs up what we produce and transports it is not always ready because everything has moved forward this year, and everyone's in a bit of a panic to get themselves set up and sorted and get the transportation and get the harvest and get the staff on farms ready to gather the crops in.
Yeah, and you're not an outlier here. This is happening up and down the country. What have other farmers been telling you about what they're having to do, harvesting early?
Lots of them really are harvesting early, and for some, the crops haven't developed good enough to even make harvest. Some of the spring planted crops in some parts of the country are so poor they may not make harvest. So it's making it really challenging for farmers to predict what the weather's going to be doing for the year ahead and what crops to grow and when that time of harvest will come.
Yeah, I mean, the whole country's been glued to weather reports, but for very different reasons to you. For this is the, the difference between being financially solvent or not. This could be devastating for some farmers this year.
I think it will be devastating for many farmers. We only get one harvest, one chance to gather our crops and then to sell them throughout the year. And with government's changes in policy and support, and so for some farmers, they have no public money coming in to support them, and a depressed market. Even though we might have one of the smallest harvests for many years, the market price for those crops are really low. And so that's making it really difficult for farmers to then reinvest in next year's crop. And every year it's getting more difficult. Our climate is changing, and it's really starting to affect our cash flow and our ability to be resilient and produce food and other things from our landscape.
Martin, we've only got 30 seconds left together. What do you need? Because I keep hearing this phrase, rural resilience, in these times of extreme weather conditions. What do you need to help you?
I think we really need to focus to adapt our landscape for the climate ahead and also reduce our emissions and sort of get ready for this. But also have the government and the supply chain support to have a long-term strategy in how we manage our landscape and produce food.
Well, listen, Martin, really good of you to come on and paint a picture of what you and other farmers are going through at the moment. That's Martin Lyons, their CEO of Nature Friendly Farming, harvesting his crops a month early because of the extreme weather we've had this year so far. Thank you.
Thank you.
And with that, the all-important weather forecast.
The ideal atmosphere, whatever the altitude. The weather, sponsored by Qatar Airways.
Oh, well, it's too little too late for Martin and other farmers, but it is going to be cooler and fresher next week with some outbreaks of rain spreading to most places by the weekend. Before then, it will be mostly fine this evening, although northern Britain will keep a scattering of blustery and potentially thundery showers. They will fade away later, leaving most places dry. Scotland is going to see further outbreaks of rain spreading through the north and west. Donegal turning wet by tomorrow morning. It's going to be windy for many northern and western parts, calmer elsewhere, with patchy fog possible in the southwest. Scotland, Northern Ireland and northern and central parts of Ireland will see prolonged rain spreading in tomorrow, heavy over western hills. England and Wales, meanwhile, mostly dry and sunny.
Breathtaking views with clear skies ahead. Qatar Airways sponsors the weather.
That's all from the UK tonight. The highlights on our webpage, skynews.com. We'll be back on Monday night at 8 o'clock. Yalda returns with the world after this break.